Today, I am going to attempt the most dangerous experiment of my entire life. I am going to simulate what it would be like to raise a real Magma El Gran Maja as a pet. And I don't just mean keeping it alive in a tank for a few days to see what happens. I want to see what would happen if I raised this creature from a tiny, glowing baby that can fit in my hands all the way to the full-size, ocean-boiling lava monster that legends say hides in the deepest underwater volcanoes. And I know that sounds completely ridiculous, because right now, this is baby Maja. At this stage, he is small enough to hold, though I literally have to wear heavy-duty industrial fireproof gloves just to touch him safely. Somehow, he looks both absolutely terrifying and kind of adorable at the exact same time. His body is covered in these cooling, dark, rocky plates, but underneath, you can literally see bright red, glowing magma coursing through his veins. He has this massive, signature wide mouth, rows of tiny needle-like teeth that look hot to the touch, and small fins that make him look like a glowing piece of charcoal drifting through the water. And even though he's still tiny, he already looks built to destroy things way bigger than he should be able to. Right now, he mostly just drifts around, leaves a trail of tiny bubbles because his body heat is literally simmering the water around him, and follows my hand's movement. It makes him seem almost harmless, but that's the part I absolutely do not trust. Because if this creature grows the way the myths say it does, this little deep-sea fire gremlin is eventually going to turn into a giant, open-mouthed apex predator that can boil the ocean, vacuum up whales, and possibly become the most dangerous living thing on the planet.
So if I'm actually going to raise him, I need to figure out 3 major problems, and I need to do it fast. First, what kind of tank can even hold a baby monster whose body temperature rivals a commercial oven? Second, what does a creature with a mouth like a burning black hole actually eat when it's small? And third, how fast does it grow before keeping it stops feeling like owning a cool exotic pet and starts feeling like trying to contain a natural disaster inside my house? Already, there are signs that this thing is not normal. The water around him constantly hisses. His mouth opens way wider than physically possible for a fish his size. And the more comfortable he gets, the more it feels like he isn't just exploring his environment, he's sizing it up. So before this thing gets any bigger, I needed to build the perfect first habitat. And a regular glass tank wasn't going to cut it. The thermal shock would shatter it in seconds. I ordered a custom tank made of specialized thermal-resistant borosilicate glass, lined the bottom with real volcanic rocks, and set up a heavy-duty filtration system. Almost immediately, he started acting weird. Instead of swimming like a normal fish, baby Maya just hovered in the water like a glowing ember, turning slowly and tracking anything that moved outside the glass. I gave him his first real food test. I started small, with tiny frozen shrimp and chunks of squid. And the strange part wasn't how hungry he was, it was how he ate. He wouldn't chase the food. Maya would stay completely still, wait for the shrimp to drift close, and then suddenly snap his jaw open. The sudden heat would instantly boil the water right in front of him, creating a suction vortex that pulled the food straight into his glowing stomach. With every bite, I could hear this faint, low, vibrating pulse coming from him. At first, it was fascinating, but the more I watched, it stopped feeling like a baby learning to eat and started feeling like a predator practicing for something much bigger. And I was right to be worried. Just 1 month later, we had a serious problem. Baby Maya had already quadrupled in size. He was way too big for the thermal tank. His body heat was warping the equipment, and he was way too hungry for this to still feel like a fun little pet experiment. I had to act immediately. I moved him into the largest thing I could realistically set up on short notice, a massive, reinforced industrial pool that we lined with heat-resistant materials. Seeing Maya in there for the first time was honestly insane. Just a few weeks ago, this thing could fit in my glowing hand. Now, he was gliding around a giant pool like a true apex predator. His armor plates had gotten thicker, the magma cracks along his sides were glowing intensely bright, and that giant vacuum mouth somehow looked even worse now that the rest of his body had caught up. But the size wasn't even the biggest problem. The food was. Maya wasn't eating little pieces of shrimp anymore. Now he needed serious meals. We are talking whole fish, massive cuts of tuna, swordfish chunks, and even entire frozen sharks. And he was burning through these calories way faster than I ever expected. At one point, we were buying and delivering food so fast it felt less like feeding an animal and more like supplying fuel to a power plant. I literally had to rent machinery just to help move the pallets of fish to the pool edge. And every time food hit the water, Maya would transform. He wouldn't thrash around. He would lock in, open that enormous glowing mouth, and pull everything in front of him straight into the abyss. It looked like the pool had developed a flaming drain with teeth. That's when it finally hit me. I wasn't raising something unusual anymore. I was raising something built to outscale any form of human containment. And the giant pool didn't solve the problem. It just delayed it. Because even with all that space, Maya kept growing fast, too fast. The water in the pool was now constantly steaming. The ambient temperature in the room was unbearable. The industrial cooling systems I bought to keep the water from completely boiling over were failing. The feeding costs were bankrupting me, and the equipment I needed just to maintain this setup was getting absolutely ridiculous. Eventually, there was only one move left. If I waited even one more week, transporting him would become physically impossible. So, with a massive heavy lift rig, titanium straps, industrial cranes, and way more heavy machinery than should ever be required for something that started out the size of an apple, we finally moved Maya one last time. After everything it took just to keep him contained and alive this long, I had to do the thing I knew was coming since day one. I had to release him. But I couldn't just drop him in a random ocean. He needed extreme heat, so we transported him straight to the heart of the Ring of Fire, right above a highly active underwater volcano. Once Maya hit those boiling, turbulent waters, my control was officially over. That part was done. There was no more tank to upgrade, no more pool to expand, no more feeding schedule, and no more cooling systems to fix. The ocean and the magma took over from there, and Maya grew into exactly what he always looked like he was going to become: an absolute, unstoppable monster. At full adult size, his scale barely made any sense. His glowing, armored body stretched through the water like a living river of lava. That giant circular mouth was now big enough to swallow entire submarines. To keep tracking him, I had to rent a helicopter and monitor him from the sky. And what I saw down there was unreal. Maya wasn't just surviving in the wild, he was dominating. The ocean's surface above him literally boiled and bubbled, creating massive clouds of steam. He was swallowing giant squids, smashing through schools of deep-sea life like they weren't even there. Every time ships crossed into his territory, you could see the ocean beneath them start to glow an eerie, bright orange before he even surfaced. That low, vibrating pulse I heard when he was a baby had become powerful enough to disrupt sonar and send shockwaves through the water. When he was small, it felt manageable. Strange, sure, but manageable. I thought with enough upgrades and planning I could keep up, but I couldn't, because every solution only lasted until he outgrew it. And now, somewhere beneath the surface, swimming among the underwater volcanoes, that same tiny creature I used to hold in my hands is roaming the open ocean at full size, becoming something far bigger and more terrifying than a pet ever should have been. Honestly, it's been a crazy journey watching this happen. If you enjoyed this wild experiment, hit that subscribe button, because I definitely want to try raising more crazy deep-sea monsters like this in the future.